Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So, as you can see, there is a new face with us today, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit for you. So, as you're all aware, if you've been following the channel, we've had a little bit of a hiatus lately. That you may or may not know that the individual who typically joins us here, Lucy, actually was residing in another country as we did our sessions. And so there was a time difference. And I got involved with another project, and Lucy was doing some things. And so that meant that for a while, we didn't really have the opportunity to get together and do any sessions. So that has changed now. And what we're going to do with the channel is we're going to rotate in some fashion three individuals in what we're going to do with the channel. And one will be Lucy, who you're familiar with already. Another will be the individual that you're seeing on the screen now, and their name is Willow. Willow is one of those individuals that I've become familiar with who has, as Lucy does, but in a little different fashion, a very deep connection to the deeper them. Willow, their experience really on a daily basis is kind of like if you think about a coin, two sides of a coin, where part of their day they'll be focused in physical reality, and then part of their day they'll be focused in non-physical reality, and then it goes back and forth frequently throughout the day. So they have a great connection to their deeper consciousness. The other individual that we will add to the channel at some point, not too far forward, is an individual named Luis. And Luis is also an individual who's explored for many years, has a very nice energy, and each of these individuals, of course, will bring a unique feel to what we're doing here on the channel as we move forward with our exploration. Of course, D'setu will be part of what's going on all times, and as that will occur today. So, I'll give Willow just a moment to say hi, and if they want to add anything else about themselves, you can go ahead and do that, Willow. So, why don't you go ahead just for a second?
Well, thank you.
So, for today's session, what we're going to do, like we have done on occasion with Lucy and I, is we're going to make today a Q&A session. And so Willow's come up with questions over the past number of weeks that they're going to ask today. And D'setu will provide whatever insight that they have on the questions. And then after that, Willow may feel like they want to expand on what D'setu offers, or maybe there's some clarification they may ask for, whatever it might happen to be. So what I'll do then is I'll take just a moment, and we'll have my more encompassing me come a little bit more to the forefront here, and then they'll probably invite Willow, would be my guess, to go ahead and begin the questions. So if you want to give me just a moment, then we'll do that.
And thank you for inviting me to be a part of this new collaboration. I think it'll lead to some really exciting insights that come through and some cool perspectives that we will exchange from me and you and me and your aspects. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're very happy to have you as part of the collaboration that we're doing, actually. Okay, so So we would greet all of you once again. And as we always do, express our appreciation for your participation in what it is that we're doing here today, regardless of whether you are actually aware that you're participating or not. And so we want to take just a moment to, of course, welcome Willow into the experience that we're having here today. And Chuck and Willow had the opportunity to speak a little earlier about the perspective that we had with Willow's higher self, shall we say, as we did this. And in fact, that dynamic occurs as we are doing this. In fact, it occurs all the time within what you consider to be a flow of time. It occurs in this way, in this moment. So we are aware, of course, of the format that's going to be used today. And so, Willow, if you would, you go ahead and begin your questioning.
Thank you. And that's very interesting about the sort of behind the scenes interaction that's always going on between all of the other layers of our consciousness, the ones that aren't primarily focused in our conscious minds here. So I guess I will get started with my questions. So the first one, it's my understanding that every individual has the same amount of impact on the collective consciousness, as our experiences are independent and subjective, while also being interconnected with others. However, is it true that a larger group of, let's say, individuals acting authentically and with integrity will create a stronger leaning for the collective to reflect that same expression, which of course would reveal only one of many coexisting parallel realities?
So your earlier statement was in fact accurate, where all individuals that are part of your collective expression, all essences is the term that we prefer to use, that have chosen to participate in your dimension and all the ways that they express themselves, do in fact express to a large degree an equal coloring, perhaps we'll say at this moment, to what it is you all do together here. Now, what occurs when you have individuals who have a greater degree of understanding of who and what they are is that acts like an invitation that spreads through our consciousness to the other individuals within your collective and is then transmitted through each individual's, perhaps in this moment we'll use the term higher self, into the expression of them that experiences themselves as a physical being and can provide for them thoughts, ideas, promptings, things of that nature to perhaps explore things in particular ways. And in doing that, to lend their energy to that same invitation to other individuals on your planet that are experiencing their physical existence. Now, of course, it's up to each individual to accept that invitation and to act in that direction, or to continue their journey in a different way, perhaps we could say. However, as you may be aware, when all of your larger aspects chose to insert parts of themselves, perhaps we'll phrase it that way, into various time flows on your planet. And if they did it within this one, within your 1900s and the beginning of this millennium, the 2000s, they were aware that there would be a movement occurring that all of you have chosen together in what's called the shift in consciousness, the transition of who and what you are into a larger awareness of yourselves. And in doing that, they would know that there would be themes being played out, ideas being expressed that weren't expressed in what you would call different time periods, your 1800s, your 1700s, and so forth. And so in that, those aspects of themselves that they express during this time period are, perhaps we can say, configured a little bit differently than some of the others that they express into your physical reality, allowing them a greater leaning, perhaps we will say, to accept the invitation to explore their reality in a way that's a little bit different. So it's not necessarily so much that individuals on your planet who have a much greater awareness have the ability to steer your direction more powerfully. But what it actually does is it invites others to join them. And those others are set up in a way, they have set themselves up in a way that they are more likely to then embrace that invitation that they would be in other time periods. And so that's the way that that all works with you,
That makes a lot
if
of
that answers
sense.
your question.
It does. Thank you. That's a very beautiful and deep, well-rounded response. And it makes me think of how we are presently influencing the past at the same time as we're, the current awareness that we have now incarnated on the planet or physically focused here in this time period, as you say, linearly, how that would be backwardsly and forwardly influencing sort of those other eras to be supportive of what we're currently experiencing now.
Yes, indeed. Your movements now do in fact send, perhaps we'll call them waves of energy, of information into other expressions of yourself. And they lend to, let's say, inventions, various ways of seeing things, ways that your culture begin to talk about certain things, movements of individuals from other country to your countries to begin different flows of ideas and energies in your country. So yes, it is a very interactive thing.
Definitely. And we probably see that in changes in our history collectively, but also individually, with memories sort of shifting and having a different emotional quality, or traumas from the past seeming to soften, and the visions for the future are becoming more and more positively oriented and more hopeful in a lot of people's eyes, especially those who have in the past viewed the future as being bleak and maybe not quite so promising. There's a lot of internal shift going on just with the perspectives in each individual.
Yes, you have in your past individuals who have spoken about maybe some of the more challenging concepts of what your future may bring. Perhaps individuals that might have spoken in your 1700s or 1800s or even before that. But there would be some individuals, though, that were hearing these things or after hearing these things, getting the flow of energy from themselves from, shall we say, this particular time period, and understanding in that or having some feelings in that things could be different than that, then they would act to perhaps change that energy that was expressed by that particular individual into the society, and maybe act to persuade, perhaps we could say, other individuals to look at the information that was shared as not quite so matter of fact, but just as something that may occur in that way, softening it a little bit. So all of you had the ability to flow in a different direction as you moved forward. So, yes,
Mhm.
indeed.
Like you said, it's a suggestion or an invitation that's being provided. Nothing is ever imposed upon us. There's always a a choice to choose to create a certain reality or not to, and that's lovely that that's true in every instance, every circumstance. That's always apparent. It's like one of those universal truths that we have.
Yes, yes. It is quite fantastic the way that you actually utilize consciousness collectively to shift and move and change your experiences in a very flexible manner.
Absolutely. So my next question is a little bit different. It's something I've been pondering for a while now, and I'm just curious about it. So, is there anything literal about how consciousness expresses itself, or is it entirely symbolic in every way? Is the concept of literalism itself just a symbol? Perhaps a symbol that represents transparency, truth, and simplicity?
So, within the experience that you're having, one of the things that influences you in a very powerful way, perhaps maybe the most powerful way, is your vision. Is this particular way of perceiving the energy of consciousness around you. In that, you become very familiar with seeing images of things. You see borders around things. You see things as things. It is one of your senses that helps you to configure your reality in a way that brings a sense of separateness into your experience. Or, in fact, of course, there is no actual separateness in the way that you experience it that occurs within consciousness. So, in that, the idea of literal has a meaning to it where it is something that is expressed in one particular way, something that is expressed in a way that stands apart from other things. It has this meaning to it, which has a border around it. Symbolism, of course, includes usually some sort of an image that you utilize for something. If you use a symbol for something, it is representing something else, and typically it is some sort of a set of images that you will string together, or a particular image that you will utilize. So within your physical dimension, because of the way that you have set up your senses, and in particular your visual senses, you then create ideas within this particular reality, symbolism being one of them. Within consciousness, because information is shared directly, you do not need these types of mechanisms in order to convey information. It's something that you utilize within this particular physical dimension. So whether it be literalism or whether it be symbolism, they are both ways within this particular dimension that you utilize to convey information that actually flows in a way that is different than how you utilize it here. And so you can utilize either idea, and it's really up to the individual as to which idea they want to. Now, within the context of the physical experience itself, symbolism and the way that you use symbolism can involve more information than something that you consider to be more literal. So it can then lend itself to containing, perhaps we'll say, information that is beyond what is conveyed to you, shall we say, at face value. You see something, and let's say it's a chair, but you know that it's not just the chair that you're meant to understand, but concepts and ideas that are in some way connected to the chair, in some way associated with the chair. So in that would be the way that we would express the ideas of literalism and symbolism within your physical experience.
That's very interesting. And I had a couple other questions pop up based off of that. Like, does literalism and symbolism, could they kind of represent different levels of understanding? Because if someone is really set on the literal perspective and seeing things as being rational and making sense and being very linear, would that sort of imply a more closed perspective, or is it just, I mean, it's both of them are just different ways to perceive this reality, because I suppose something that is seemingly literal could be interpreted in a symbolic manner as well if someone looks deep enough into it, or um, looks at it through association. Maybe they have an association with that topic that creates a symbolic connection with something else.
So, what it actually does is it delineates the type of experience that the individual is having within your physical reality. Because what all of you are doing, of course, is you're exploring this particular idea of how consciousness will express itself. And within that, you're having experiences, many, many, many experiences. And you choose from that larger perspective yourself initially, and then you fine tune, shall we say, those choices as you are within the experience. You choose the types of experiences you want to have. All of those experiences are valid. It's only within the experience that you might call some of those experiences more limited and some of those experiences less limited. But they are a way of exploring the dimension, this physical dimension. In that, All of them add to consciousness, only in different ways. So they are all valid. They are just different explorations of the experience of this particular physical dimension.
Absolutely. And they definitely all have immense value in the day-to-day experience that we have of ourselves. Without the concept of a limiting idea, we wouldn't have the experience of discovery and seemingly growing, beyond something, even though that's not really what's happening. It's just a change in experience. But being able to incorporate these different perspectives allows for a deeper appreciation to arise when you find yourself in a freer state or a state that feels more preferred, more enjoyable, which for some people they might prefer the more limiting or constricted perspectives because that's something they genuinely want to experience on some level or explore. It may not be a conscious remembrance of that decision to explore that, but it's still there within them, and they can kind of feel a satisfaction knowing that they are going all in that type of an experience because their soul desired to really revel in the qualities that are associated with a limiting mindset, whatever might arise from that. So it is very interesting the diversity we have at our fingertips.
One of the things that infrequently comes to mind for most individuals, and they may not even be familiar with, is that as you express yourself within a particular time period, we'll just use the term on your planet, you do not express only a single version of yourself. You express multiple versions of yourself within that time period, and they overlap to some degree. And so they are having different types of experiences, and usually they're in diverse places around your globe. And you may, even within that relatively small group of individuals, be experiencing, shall we say, opposite ends of a particular spectrum of an experience. You may have an aspect of you that's quite poor during those time periods. You may have an aspect of you who has quite a bit of affluence, money, things of that nature during that time period. To have those experiences occurring at the same time that are quite diverse, because again, it is about your exploration of your dimension and of the experience here. So, yes, absolutely.
I love that. And yes, that is very true. There are all of these plug-in points, I don't know, access points that we have with ourselves in these other places and spaces. And there's always a communication going on perpetually. And I remembered another one earlier about this is something that Chuck and I were discussing, I think last night, about the realities that are based on association. That is how they experience that that's how they experience things. And I'm very curious about that, if you could expand more, because I feel like my mind works through association a lot of the time. I see connections where there seemingly shouldn't be any connection, and things make sense to me that are polar opposites sometimes. So I'm curious what the layout of a reality based on association looks like.
So, within, and we'll begin this way, within your particular dimension, you may be aware or you may not be aware that you influence your perception, your way of not only perceiving, but building your experience moment by moment very powerfully with beliefs. And so it is one particular filter, perhaps we'll call it, that you utilize in the experience that you have in this reality all the time. You use beliefs continually within this. And there are many, 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 many different types of beliefs within what we'll call belief systems. And these are what drive your beliefs. These are what drive your experiences. And these are what frequently then stimulate your attention to move in various directions. Now, because many of you have parts of yourself, aspects of yourself, and when we say yourselves, we're talking about that more encompassing you, but of course, you are that you at the same time. But because you have aspects of yourself that dwell within a dimension where the way that that dimension flows is through association, then the bleed through from those experiences into this experience can be something that affects your experience here as well. And so in that type of a reality, beliefs are not utilized as they are with yours. And so the flow of your attention, because your attention really is you, the all of you, the you that is paying attention to the experience that you're having here, because really the all of you is having this experience through what seems to be a more limited version of you. What some individuals have chosen to call maybe the focused personality. You could call it the ego. You could call it a variety of things. It is like a filter through which you have the experience. And so, in that, when you're in a different dimension that flows through association, as you're having an experience, that experience has a variety of themes, perhaps we'll call them in this moment, that are associated with it, whatever might happen to be. Perhaps you're eating something and flavor is one of those. And we're going to use your experiences here because we'll need to make this make some sense for you. So there's a flavor. And then the association is that you've eaten something else that has a similar flavor. And as you bring that to mind, as you start to make your experience about that, perhaps that other thing you ate in a particular location. Then there's that association. Then you flow into another experience through that association. And as you begin to think about that type of location, where you were and the things that were going on there, maybe you recall hearing some music there. And then you flow into what that music sounded like and what that music was associated with. And so it just continues from association to association to association to association. And in that reality, the flow of your existence is purely through association. It's not through belief systems. And what you believe is true in the moment. That isn't the thing that is motivating, let's say, your actions. It is just the association. And the flow is quite different. And it's at a pace that's quite different than the flow of the pace for most individuals here. Your pace will quicken as your shift continues. But at this place, your pace is a little bit slower yet on how you focus on things and how you flow from one thing to the next thing. So in a dimension where it's all about association, the flow of your consciousness is different than it is here. And it is all about this idea of things that happen and the associations you have, what it brings to the next thing, the association that has, what it brings to the next experience, and on and on and on. And of course, typically there are many associations that you could make through any experience. Sometimes you may explore several of those at one time. So it's quite a different experience that is somewhat difficult to actually explain fully within this experience because of what you know of this experience.
That is
But
so
that'll give you some
fascinating.
idea.
Yeah, that's an excellent description of what that reality would be like. And it makes me think all the associations that a version of, let's just say, my consciousness would have in that reality, would they require a large amount of experience to be able to create those associations initially? Or is the information available to them through all the concurrent realities they're pulling from to create those connections that they are then bleeding into one after the other, one after the other? Or, I mean, because there's a lot of experience that needs to happen to build those connections, supposedly. Or maybe not. Maybe the all of the information of consciousness that's relevant for that point of focus is just immediately accessible to be able to blend into all those different experiences one after the other.
One of the things that many times can escape individuals in this reality, even individuals that are explorers, quote unquote, is that you are expressing many, many, many versions of you in versions of physical reality at the same time, concurrently. And so those versions of you are having various experiences. And so you tap into those experiences in each moment of your physical reality in this dimension. And it is through that that you build on what seems to be your one singular experience, but it's not. It's actually quite a fluctuating experience. And there is interplay, connectivity between various expressions of you that are happening all the time. This would be similar in that other type of an experience where there are multiple versions of the individual that are having experiences, and they would move between those in a way that, again, makes it seem like they are flowing in just a one singular movement of themselves, although some of those realities allow for an understanding. Now, keep in mind that within this time period of yours, within this shift of consciousness that all of you are experiencing, now one of the things that you're doing is you are opening yourself up to other dimensions of activity that you are already in, and you are in many. And so the idea of associations and folding associations into your experience will be something that more and more people will be able to utilize if they so choose, if it's something that seems interesting to them. So that will be there as well.
That is so exciting. That's definitely something that I'm going to continue choosing as I express more of myself here in this focus. Because I love seeing the connection between everything and feeling it, really living that connection, especially through dreams, which kind of brings me to my next set of questions, which are more dream focused. Can you describe the free range that's available to a dreamer when they're exploring realities in dream time? How common is it for a dreamer to leave the playground of the astral realm and explore further and focus their consciousness in places that are far beyond what's familiar?
So it is, in fact, quite common. One of the things that occurs, so when you close your eyes and you drift off into what you call sleep from this perspective, and then of course what occurs is that it's once you've come back to this particular way of seeing existence, and you recall, we'll utilize that term, activity that went on during your night, that of course you come up with terms of it from within this experience. And dreams is a name that you've applied to those experiences that seem to occur as you're asleep. And of course, they have many, many, many different qualities to them. And so when you drift off into sleep, what's going on is that what you're doing is you are, we'll term it like this. For a short time, what you're doing is you are pulling back most of your energy that's associated with this particular expression of yours, and you are experiencing yourself in other, maybe we'll call them layers of consciousness, including all of who and what you are. So most dream activity occurs in a layer of consciousness. Again, we will use that term, and we're using the term because it makes sense to you as a metaphor, as a symbol, perhaps we'll say. If you can think of maybe an avocado, or a peach, something that has that pit in the middle of it. And if you can think of that pit as your physical experience, surrounding that physical experience then would be another, perhaps we'll call it, layer of consciousness. And that first layer around you is a layer that contains all of the information in whatever way, shape, or form it can show up for you that's associated with physical realities. Dream time is a part of that, as are impressions, intuitions, all of the things that provide information for you in your experience here that don't seem to originate within this particular reality, physical reality. They seem to have come to you from someplace else. Dreams are, of course, that. And so there is a great freedom within that particular, again, we'll refer to it as layer of consciousness, to explore whatever it is that you want to. And it is in that layer, utilizing the idea of what you term dreams, that you try out many, many, many scenarios as far as what you want to do with your life. And then you choose to focus on one of those choices more strongly than the others when you then open your eyes again into your physical reality. But that doesn't mean that it is absolutely going to be the one that you experience, because even as you then go through your day with your eyes wide open, once again conscious, shall we say, of your physical reality, you are free to make choices, of course, in that reality. So, as that choice that you have made in dream time is being exerted into your experience, you can choose to alter it at any time through the choices that you make as the physical you. But yes, there is a great degree of freedom within dream time. And there are many, many, many layers of consciousness that can affect that particular area of consciousness and then be experienced by you. You can have a great deal of experience there. And as you are well aware, when you find yourself in that environment, one of the things that becomes apparent to you is the freedom of exploration and expression that you have. And you're able to then, a number of times, carry, if not the remembrance of the imagery of that, but the feeling state of that back into this experience. And it can help individuals then during times where they feel constricted, where there's this feeling of a freeness within them that they can then apply to their life. And so dream experiences are very nice for adding concepts to your physical dimension, for your physical experience, that otherwise you may find difficult to find within the physical experience itself. So if that answered your question adequately.
It certainly does. You covered many bases, and I'm just so excited about all of it. It definitely validates what I believe is true about my own dreaming experience. And yes, the flexibility and freedom that is so readily available, and how it seems to, I mean, there's so much in that, let's just say, peach metaphor. The the flesh of the peach is, there's so much in there as far as our ability to explore those realms, those layers of consciousness surrounding our physical identity, our physical focus. And that's
And we
just
are aware
fascinating to
that you
imagine.
are quite adept at that exploration yourself. So we know that
Thank you.
at some point you will have quite a bit to share in that regard.
Yes, I'm excited to continue this discussion further in the future with you, exploring the different layers of dreaming and all the different facets that it has, all the different access points. So, in addition to that, I had another dream question about are there common themes or arrangements playing out in the dream state that are quite universal amongst dreamers, which perhaps may be termed as collective dreaming, aside from the personal, individual dream messages that we have for ourselves? Maybe there could be entire visions of a shared reality that we are dreaming into being the more that we focus on it. And we just may not realize that we're all dreaming the same dream from time to time.
There are indeed. So for your reality, for your physical reality, of course, you have at various times and in various ways collaborated with certain number of individuals. Sometimes it's thousands of individuals, sometimes it's millions of individuals to have experiences. When you do that, of course, there is a associated experience within that idea of dream time, within that particular layer of consciousness. It may be, perhaps we could use terms like your civil war here in the United States, or perhaps your world wars, which encompassed most of your planet, or something, perhaps we'll say, of a different feeling state and something that encompassing all of who you are now, which is this shift in consciousness that all of you are going through. This is something, of course, that is being explored and expressed in the idea that you call dream time as well. And all of you are collaborating within it. And again, there are various themes on how you would like to explore that, how you would like to bring it into your world. And various of you will explore those themes and experience those themes as you have your physical experience. So, yes, indeed, it is both, of course, as your physical experience is. It is an individual experience in that way of speaking, and it is a collaborative experience. So, very much so, there's a collaborative experience that goes on within what you call dream time. Happens, shall we say, all the time.
I love that. That's amazing to ponder. And yes, definitely seems like even if we're using different symbols and different ways to explain the idea to ourselves, it doesn't mean that the overall theme and the concepts aren't being collectively experienced in that dream state. So that is very fascinating.
One of the things that's important for individuals to keep in mind, will suggest, as they explore dream time, is that more encompassing you, your higher self, your higher mind, whatever you would like to term it, is completely aware of you. It's aware of all of your experiences. It's aware of the way that you utilize symbols in it. So it will attempt to express symbols that are meaningful to you within dream time. And also, of course, are other experiences that other versions of you have had. But with the bleed through of connectivity that goes on, those symbols will also have some meaning to you. And so when you are expressing dreams, where you're involving yourself in that layer of consciousness that you term dream time, that the you that is always associated with you, the you that always in those terms surrounds you, that you actually are, that larger you, is always utilizing symbology that will have some significance to you, that you can utilize within your physical life. Now, sometimes it takes a little exploration, and you can utilize, depending on the way that you like to explore your physical reality, various collections of information that have been published in your world about the nature of symbols. But within that also, and aside from that, is also a lot of your own personal symbolism that you use. And so to try to recognize those as they're expressed in your dreams is also a very powerful way of doing things.
That makes perfect sense to me. And of course, the prompting to explore those symbols in a particular way would be there upon waking from that dream, or getting a insight to, oh, I don't really know what this means, but it feels like something I should investigate. And then whatever pops up through that investigation would be exactly what's needed to be understood. So it seems like the information will always come one way or another, because that higher aspect of ourselves is intending for us to find the meaning, because there wouldn't be the inspiration in the first place if there wasn't something to gain from that message that was conveyed.
Yes, and that's something that's quite important, is to try to become increasingly aware of that type of inspiration as it shows up to you, whether it shows up as an impression, an impulse, inspiration, intuition, whatever, and to do as you suggested, to explore, investigate those things, because there is something within it that will add to your experience, or in some type of an association, lead then to something else. So, yes, those are
Absolutely.
powerful things for individuals to be able to do.
And that's where synchronicity comes in. That's how it all unfolds, is through the synchronistic connection of one thing to the next, and revealing information to ourselves in that very magical flow that seems to happen. So it's
Yes,
very
indeed.
fascinating. So I have two more questions left. They're a bit of a different theme, but I was curious of your description or definition of subconscious beliefs and the influence that they have on our conscious choices.
So, when you utilize the term subconscious, of course, what most people are referring to is the idea that there is some information that is unavailable to you, things that are beyond your reach, because you consider the things that are in front of you, the things that can be accessed through your senses, your five senses, to be those things that are part of your consciousness. But of course, as we were discussing just a moment ago, most individuals have these concepts of intuition, of impressions, of inspiration. Perhaps people might call it their gut feeling, whatever it might happen to be. Those things are there in individuals' experiences as well. And so the idea of beliefs being subconscious is not the actual way that beliefs function. Beliefs are always there within your experience, shall we say, the collective consciousness. And They are there to be utilized by all of you as you experience your life. Now, does that mean that you are aware in what you term to be a conscious way of all those beliefs? You may not be, and that may largely be because you never even thought to consider the idea of what beliefs are and how they can be utilized. Beliefs actually are really a statement of what you believe is true about anything, what you believe is true about yourself, what you believe is true about others, what you believe is true about the world, about circumstances, about situations, what you believe to be true in that moment about any and all of those things and other things as well. They're quite powerful influences, shall we say, on how it is that you then make choices. So those beliefs are part of the construct of your reality, of course, and they're there to influence you as you associate with them or choose not to associate with them. So, a simple example of that, especially in the West, is the idea of the individual that you all call Santa Claus. So, at one point in individuals' lives, typically when they're very young, they quite believe that this individual exists in the way that the stories say that they exist. And they show up at a particular time during the year in what's termed your winter time, December, and they leave gifts for individuals, correct? And so at some point in time, then what you begin to have is you begin to have experiences, which is how within the physical reality you became familiar with the idea of Santa Claus because you had experiences around you that introduced you to this idea. You begin to have other experiences that begin to allow other ideas to show up in your reality, saying that perhaps this individual isn't quite like you were lent to believe originally. And so, as you have other experiences, as you pay attention to other information around you, then the beliefs that are associated with that information are beliefs that you begin to utilize. And then you see that situation differently. You perceive it differently. And so then your belief shifts to a belief that, yes, this individual is in fact a real individual in the way that they're described, to something perhaps we can say a little bit more encompassing, in alignment with the way that you see that, and that it is in fact a story. It is the story of an idea that is expressed, and the way that individuals go about expressing that and conveying that to children. And so ideas are every place. They pervade your experience of your reality. And they are there to be utilized by you. And typically they show up in your reality as you are influenced, especially by individuals who are important to you in your reality. And a lot of it happens when you are younger in your life, but some of that can happen when you're a little bit older in your life. You may, in your 20s or even in your 30s, in association with a particular job, have a particular way that you think and feel about something, and then meet an individual who is expressing their life in the way that you would like to express your life. And they have a particular way of looking at life that is different than how you've looked at life. They're utilizing different beliefs. And because you would like to move in that direction, you begin to listen to the way that they express life and how they move through their life and how they believe others can move through their life. And you adopt those beliefs. So you can adopt different beliefs when you're even older in your life, shall we say, in those terms. But yes, influences are there. Those beliefs are there, and they're there all throughout your reality. They're being utilized by a whole variety of individuals in many different ways. And as a result of the places that you put your attention, the ideas that you have, which moves your attention to various experiences within your reality, you will then utilize choice, shall we say, of beliefs that are associated with those particular potential experiences. So, yes.
Definitely. I love those examples you gave. They very clearly depict how it happens, how it goes on, how we believe what we believe, and how our lives are reflections of our beliefs. They truly are.
That you consider to be important individuals in your life for whatever reason. Many times it might be your parents, it may be teachers, and again, it may be an individual that expresses their existence in the way that you would like to. And so these individuals become important to you. And in that way, they have the ability to lend an influence to your life. And in that influence, the beliefs are a part of that package. And so that's something that's occurring in your life all the time. Now, as you become a little more confident, and this means all individuals, of course, on the way that you would like to express your life, then you become a little, shall we say, choosier as far as which types of beliefs you would like to use. Now, of course, that's if you believe that your life can be directed in particular ways, which again is about influence and about the beliefs that go along with that too.
Thank you. Yes, I agree very much with all of your answers, and I really appreciate everything that you've shared with me in this session so far. And that's pretty much the conclusion of my questions that I've prepared. So if you have any final thoughts or insights that you'd like to add to this, I would really be curious what you'd have to say.
Well, first of all, what we want to do is thank you for your participation in what we're doing here right now. Again, the changes that Chuck had in the direction of what we wanted to do here was, of course, influenced, as we're talking about those types of things, by us, by some of the feelings that we had in our awareness of, again, how your reality around all of you is expanding and moving, and an understanding of how then best to convey information in a way that speaks of that collaborative nature that we all have together. And so, in utilizing a variety of expressions and energies, yours being one of them, we believe that that will be expressed a little more fully within what we're all doing here together. So, thank you very much for becoming a part of that, first of all.
Thank you as well.
And
And
go ahead.
it's very exciting, this new exploration that we're doing. I'm really looking forward to doing more of these sessions, and even the group ones that include Lucy and Luis at the same time, where all of us are having a dialogue between our higher aspects and also the questions that we've prepared beforehand, and asking one another too. Just having this flow happen amongst all of us. It'll be really fascinating to see what information pops up through that new format that we're experimenting with.
Yes, we believe that as this experience, perhaps we'll call it, expands into what it will be, that it will be something that will provide the opportunity for individuals to interact with it in ways that seems interesting to them and to provides movement for them in the things that they want to do. So in that,
Certainly.
we will at this point withdraw ourselves a little bit more and allow the individual that you refer to as Chuck to move a little bit more forward into the experience now. So, of course, D'setu already made this comment, but I'll express my appreciation as well in your participation in what we did here today. And of
Thank
course,
you.
moving forward, everybody who's here viewing the channel will see Willow more frequently. And we will introduce Luis relatively shortly, we believe. And then, of course, Lucy, of course, will become part of this. And the idea that we have is that we'll do some of these in the manner that we have done today, and you're used to with Lucy, where it will be just myself D'setu and them. And then we also have the idea of a collaboration between sometimes three of us, sometimes all four of us. And we believe that all those will be very exciting and fulfilling ways to share information. So, yes. So, on that note, I guess that we'll say that this is where we're going to tie it up today. And again, I hope that all of you are exploring your exploration in whatever way that you're conducting it. And hopefully we can be helpful to you in some way, shape, or form as you move into that exploration. So have a great day, and we'll see you next time around. Take care.